Hi, this topic is on product concepts, which is chapter 10. And so with this topic, we're going to start the first of the 4 P's of the marketing mix, products. So let's look at our learning objectives. We've got 3 in this topic. First, we'll understand the different types of consumer products. The second learning objective is to understand the terms product item, product line, and product mix. And these are terms that are used by marketing managers in devising the product strategy for the company. The third and the last learning objective is to delve into the world of branding and to see what are the different branding decisions marketers have to make. So let's first understand what is this thing called a product. And from chapter 1, if you remember, we said that products cannot be limited in terms of definition to a tangible item that a person can hold and inspect in her or his hand. Therefore, anything that the person receives in an exchange is a product. And so I hope that you will remember what the definition of an exchange is and what are the different conditions that are necessary for an exchange to happen. So the first broad classification is between a business product and a consumer product. And the only difference is who the intended user is. If the end user of the product is another organization, then that product gets classified as a business product. If, on the other hand, the end user is an individual consumer or a household, then that product gets classified as a consumer product. Therefore, in this example, where you see a Dell computer and the Verizon Fios service, what do you think? Is it a consumer product or a business product? Now, since this course is mostly about B2C marketing, business to consumer marketing, we'll focus to understand on the different types of consumer products. So there are 4 types of consumer products: convenience, shopping, specialty, and unsought. So a convenience product, just as you can see from the definition, is one that requires very little effort. So if you want to draw some parallel between the different types of consumer products and the 3 different types of consumer decisions that we learned about in chapter 6, you'll see that a convenience product is mostly purchased in the situation of a routine response behavior. A shopping product is where the consumer is involved in certain amount of comparison shopping, or if you remember the step called evaluation of alternatives in the consumer decision process model, that there is some parity between a shopping product and the consumer comparing different alternatives. It tends to be a little bit more expensive to the consumer, and it's found in a fewer stores. Instead of a very wide distribution, it has somewhat of a limited distribution. A specialty product, on the other hand, is one where the consumer goes through great level of detail and great amount of effort is invested in order to search for the product. And in the mind of the consumer, there is no other substitute for a specialty product. So when we think generally about luxury brands, that we would argue to classify them as specialty products. So for example, a brand like Tiffany, in the mind of its target consumer, there is no other substitute to Tiffany as a brand. An unsought product, on the other hand, is a product that a potential buyer is either it's not known to a potential buyer, or the buyer is not currently seeking it to purchase in the immediate future. So for a college student, for example, things like a life insurance policy, like a mutual fund investment, a real estate property would be an unsought product. So not that they don't know about it, not about the product, but they're not looking to actively purchase that product. So generally, when a company discusses its product strategy, there are 3 different terms that are used in that conversation. And so I'd like to introduce each one of those 3 terms. So the first one is called a product mix. So I'm looking at the last term on the bottom here, which is a product mix. And that's pretty much everything the organization sells. A product line is a term that signals all closely related product items. So for example, with the Yoplait example that we've taken in class, all of the different flavors of yogurt that Yoplait markets makes up the yogurt product line. The product item is a specific version of the product within the product line. So for example, the strawberry flavored yogurt is a product item in the yogurt product line for Yoplait. So again, just to kind of review, product mix with everything that the company makes is signals how wide the product is, and sort of the benefit of having a very wide product mix is that diversifies the risk and it helps the company sort of capitalize on established revenues. So companies that have a great a reputation in the marketplace will benefit from introducing multiple product lines. So for example, look at the width of the product mix here for Campbell's soup. So please tell me how many product lines are in the product mix. And then the second question is how many product items are in the sauces product line. The depth of the product line has to do with how many product items are in a specific product line. And generally it is done really to appeal to the different preferences of its target market segment. So again, take a look here with Quaker Brands and tell me which of the product line is the deepest that you see on this visual. So generally when a company has a product strategy over time and with changing preferences of the market segment, the company will tend to make adjustments to its product strategy. So there are 4 different tactics that the company uses. The first one is called product modification, where the core product stays about the same, only sort of modifications or changes are made to the presentation of the product. So the packaging, the color, or the size of the packaging or the ingredient of the package might go through some change, but the core product remains the same. The second adjustment is called product line extension. And again, these terms should become familiar to you. A product line extension is when a new product item gets added on to an existing product line. So with the Yoplait example, a new flavor of yogurt gets added on to the existing product line. Product line contraction is where an underperforming product line is either sold off to a different company or is stopped from production. Brand extension is a very interesting marketing tactic where the company takes the brand of an established product category and then extends it to market a somewhat related category. So Barbie does that very frequently with, Barbie is an established brand in the doll category. And what they've done is they've taken that brand to market other related categories. So you can find clothing for young girls with the Barbie brand on it, toys, stationery, household goods, and you name it. So that is an example of brand extension. So look here again, look at this example of Jif and how they have used the product modification strategy to make adjustments. So in this example, as you can see, instead of marketing or offering peanut butter in a big jar, they are being offered in small tubs for convenience. Another example of product modification with the change in packaging from the old to the new. Line extension. Please tell me how this is an example of product line extension. Another great example here with Cheerios and adding different flavors of product items to an existing product line. And then here's an example of brand extension and P.F. Chang's established restaurant category using their brand to sell take-home frozen meal entrees from the supermarket. And then an example of product line contraction where Unilever decided that Ragu was not a very profitable line for itself, and therefore it sold it a couple of years ago. Repositioning is the last way in which companies make changes or modifications to their product strategy, and we talked about this last week in class under the topic in market segmentation. So again, take a look again at this review of this example. Old Spice that had this faded brand image, Procter & Gamble purchased it and then repositioned it to appeal to a different target audience. So with this, I'm going to stop with the topic on product. In part 2, we will learn about the topic on branding.